Welcome to another week of Crunching Your Growth, the show where we dig into the real strategies entrepreneurs and leaders use to scale, innovate, and thrive. I'm Phil Masiello. Today, we're diving into one of the hottest and most misunderstood topics in business right now, AI. My guest is Shadi Yazdan, a four-time founder, two-time exit entrepreneur, one of the most inspirational women in AI. She helped small to medium-sized business leaders cut through the noise to find high-impact, high return on investment AI solutions that are rooted in business goals and human leadership. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed by the flood of AI tools, but you still want to lead with clarity and confidence, this episode is for you. And as you know, we've probably had about a dozen AI people on, and everybody speaks in a different language about what they're doing with AI. And you've heard me speak about what we're doing with AI. So it's good to get an expert on. So let's bring her in and let's talk about AI.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's really great to be here with you. So
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. So tell us a bit about your background, four-time entrepreneur, two-time exit, where you've been, how you got there, and then where you're heading with AI.
Well, how far back do you want me to go
As
with
far
my
back as you want to go. You can go back to your birth.
Okay. Well, I'll start at I'll give you a little background in terms of those early entrepreneurial sparks, as I like to call it,
Sure.
and then I'll go into from there. I'll talk a little bit about growth and what that meant for me in this entrepreneurial path. I would say I've always been entrepreneurial, even as a child, when I used to organize my cousins and give everyone a role in the make believe markets and stores that we would build out as we were playing as kids. And I spent the early years of my career as I grew up actually in the public sector, and held roles in the corporate world because, at that time, I'm a child of immigrant parents. That was considered a real job.
Hmm.
So to feel alive and like I actually was doing something with purpose, I was so bored in my government job, no offense, but I didn't feel that drive and motivation as I was craving. I used to always have, I guess today, what we call side hustles.
Oh, yeah.
And I was actually part of one of the early e-commerce sites that were built that were awful. But I used to do that. I used to build e-commerce sites in the early days of the internet for small businesses. And then I used to also do tutoring. I used to tutor kids, anything and everything that could make me feel like I was doing some sort of a work that mattered, that was making an impact. And then about a decade ago, I really got sick and stressed with my work. And I knew that I had to do something. And I didn't have a plan B, didn't know what to do, but knew that where I wasn't really feeding my soul. So I quit with no plan whatsoever. So what do you do when you quit and you don't really have any plans? Again, we go back to that immigrant mindset. You go back to school because that's
Ah,
usually what happens, right? So I went to school and I decided that I was going to do whatever it took to go to a good Ivy League school because I wanted to be connected with people that I felt like had figured out life, and I wanted to know what that secret was. So I did an executive MBA, really, and I want to stress not so much for the degree, but very much for that network and the connection. And
well,
I really quickly learned that many of the people that I felt like had made it in life and knew what their purpose was were actually quite unfulfilled
hmm.
and even more depressed and out of place than I was. So within the program, a few of us that, talked about purpose of life and meaning of life and what we wanted to do, we started building businesses. I mean, we were in this incredible ecosystem with wealth of knowledge, with people that were innovating all the time. We had access to resources, professors, and the university was very supportive, and they wanted to boast about their the entrepreneurs in the program. So we started building businesses, and I have to say it felt really easy. We had the network, the investors, and clients that were ready to support us, which is what's wonderful about the executive MBA program, because you're in this ecosystem with people that have minimum 10 years of professional executive
Yeah.
experience. So the network and the resources you need are so easy to tap into. But I also noticed something else. There was always a ceiling that I felt like I hit. And once I reached it, that was it. There was no way I could go beyond that ceiling. And I didn't understand what that was. So, and now coming back to 2025, I have since learned that that ceiling that I was hitting really is your own mindset and the belief in what is possible.
All right.
And many of us have a different belief system. So my first exit was actually my very, very first exit was actually in my undergrad. In this was back in 2000, and before Google and Chat GPT, I started helping students
Yeah.
write and probably back in the day, because we didn't have Google and Chat GPT and any of these other tools that we have now, university students used to get in a lot of trouble when they wrote their papers because they didn't know how to cite them properly.
Yeah.
Well, that was something I knew really well. I spent a lot of my time at the library. I really loved digging into books, so I started helping a lot of students with that. What it was doing for me was I was making extra money, child of an immigrant, parents couldn't afford to send me to school, so I didn't have to take any loans. It was paying for my education. I was working, and I was also, without realizing it, building this business that was feeding my soul as well. So after that, I actually, before I ran that business for 4 years, and then I left to for this opportunity to teach English in Japan.
Oh.
And at that time, there was a tutoring company that what they ended up doing is I sold them the list of names and phone numbers of all the students that I had. And that was my first acquisition, if you want to call it, on a very small scale, selling the names and the phone numbers and so on. And then going off to Japan to teach English for a year, which was amazing because I credit Japan for teaching me independence and resilience at a
Yeah.
very young age. So again, when I returned, get a real job. And that's when I went back to where I started the story. So one, and going back again to this whole process of building businesses, for one of my businesses, I remember having investors pretty much lined up, having the most incredible and at that time called a revolutionary business idea. But the team that was running this business was such a mess. So we fought over who should be the CEO. Egos got in the way. And unfortunately, that business collapsed.
Yeah,
And the
man.
reason why I'm sharing this and talking about mindset and really talking about what it takes to build a business is that regardless of the foundations that you have in place. So here I am in this incredible executive, MBA program, all the resources you can think of, anything anyone could ever want, and the businesses weren't getting to where they needed to. Either I was the bottleneck or the team that I was with, there were too many of us that were very similar. And oftentimes we tend to gravitate towards people that are very much like us, right?
Yeah.
And so this was a really painful reminder for me that no matter what the idea or the opportunity, without the right alignment and leadership, nothing works. And this is what I see today over and over again in business world, small, medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say I didn't want to get away from the whole mindset piece, and then you brought in teams. I'm trying to take notes as I go because mindset. I see it all the time um, with entrepreneurs that I coach or businesses that we're involved in through the agency, and it blows my mind how much people destroy themselves with their mindset. How much uh, it amazes me. And there's one business in particular that has driven us crazy because we took them on. They've been in business for about 5 years and they were stuck. And that's just
Yeah.
perfect for us because we always know how to get unstuck and break through. And we laid out a plan, and we said, this is what you have to do. And they had a definite difference in the market, a definite
Mhm.
difference in the market that could have been exploited. And we laid out a plan, and everybody was like, yeah, this is great, 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 great. We started doing it, and within a week they're like, oh, we don't really like this. We want to let's just focus on Amazon. We'll just focus. And I said, that's killing you. You said it yourself. You're losing money. It's killing you.
Mhm.
Yeah. I said, you know what? We had to, after about 3 weeks of this, we wound up firing them because I said, you're your own worst enemy. If it were up to me, I'm going to give you a piece of advice and I don't want this to sound harsh, but it's true. You need to sell your business because you have something that somebody could turn into something very good.
Yeah.
I said, and I would even consider buying it because, frankly, you're just wasting it, and they are, and they for 5 years they got nowhere, and I realized 100% their mindset, 100% their mind.
Yes. But unfortunately, Phil, I don't think many people realize it. We are so much in this ecosystem where we're always talking about strategy, revenue, growth at all cost. Nobody takes the time to ask, well, why am I not hitting those metrics?
Yeah,
What is it about me and what is it about my internal belief system that's preventing me from hitting those metrics? And the reality is majority of us aren't really that self-aware.
right.
And it's only when you stop, and this is why I'm such a huge component of coaching. And through my work, not only am I consulting, I'm also coaching a lot of the business owners, their
Yeah,
executive team. Because at the end of the day, you really need someone from the outside to come in and be that mirror that you are not looking at and help you, guide you based on where your blind spots are to break through and go over that ceiling that many of us unfortunately hit, and that's it,
and,
right?
and and that's another point of what you were talking about that I wanted to just make and clarify. You're talking about a team and team building and the ability to get people on board that can get you further and further.
Yeah.
Here's another example. This one actually has a great ending. About a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, we took on this client, and they were stuck. The entrepreneur started the business and got it from zero to about 20 million a year. But then
Mhm.
they hit a plateau. They hit that wall, which many businesses do. I've seen it a million
Yes.
times. And they started hiring people. They hired an A+ sales guy, an A+ sales guy, and he couldn't make any headway. And then they hired us because they said, well, we need ads, we need advertising, we need marketing, we need this and this and this. And after about a month, I said, hey, can I propose something to you guys? How about if we do a 2-day offsite? Because I think you need some coaching. I said, and I do that. And here's what I think the program would be. But there's a disconnect somewhere that's not working. And it's not going to be ads. And I don't want to just sit here and take your money. So we did a 2-day offsite.
Yeah.
And it became apparent within 3 hours what the bottleneck was. The founder of the company, the CEO of the company, the guy that got them from 0 to 20,
Hmm.
wanted to be on every single sales call with this A+ player. And
Hmm.
at the same time, he's running around, running operations, running accounting, running finance, new business development, et cetera. And I said, you hired this A+ player, but you've put the handcuffs on him and said, you have to work around my schedule. You shouldn't be on every single sales call. You should let him do it. You come in for the close, and then that's it.
Hmm.
And as soon as that happened, everybody was like, in the room, breathe a sigh of relief. And they all pretty much unloaded a little bit, not, very respectfully, but said, yeah, this guy does this guy does this. And he heard it directly. He needed a third party from outside to sort of raise awareness. But since that happened about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
they've grown 10 million in 1 year, 10
See?
million in 1 year. And
And that's the power of that outside, someone from the outside coming in. And it's not just about the strategy, it's also about let's cut through the person that's leading the business, what
yeah,
is holding them back, and let's work through that to prevent them from being the bottleneck in the business. And I
exactly.
have to say, oftentimes in the work that I do, and I'll go into more detail about that, That usually is the problem. A lot of businesses come to me because they are not scaling, they're not growing as they want to. They're thinking that AI is going to be that magic wand, right? And you're going to set it and forget it. But just through the work, through the assessments and the work that we do, the audit, it's clear that it's usually the person leading the business that
Yeah.
is the bottleneck that isn't preventing the business from moving forward. And I have to say, in most cases, that person isn't even aware. They
Yeah.
don't even know that their limiting beliefs, that their mindset, their challenges, their sense of self-confidence is preventing this business from moving forward. So that's why throughout my whole journey of building businesses, some did okay and many of them failed. And when I look back at all the ones that failed, I can see what was the common denominator. It was me. It was my mindset. It was my limiting belief. It was all of my insecurities that were preventing the business from going to that next level that it needed to go.
I've talked about this on this show a million times. The first business I ever did I did it when I was 27 years old. It was a complete and total failure. And the whole reason it was a failure was 100% because of me. It was a failure of leadership, a failure of process management. I felt like at the time in my naivete and youth, I felt like I'm the entrepreneur. I had the idea. And so I have to have all the answers. And therefore, everything has to flow through me. And it was just a disaster. And it 4 years later, I wound up selling the business for whatever I could get for it. And I left, and that's when I moved down to Maryland. I was in New York, and I went to graduate school. And again, not because I got my master's, but not because I wanted more education. I needed to think differently. I needed to shift my mindset. And that's what and when I was down here, I got involved with another
Mm.
company I made an investment in. And, I wasn't the entrepreneur in that, but I was a senior leader, and I learned pretty quickly how to scale a business because we went from 2 stores to 12 stores. Plus, we
Amazing.
bought Balducci's, we bought Heyday Markets in Connecticut. So I learned a whole bunch there, and that really set my path for entrepreneurship to be successful because I was not thinking correctly.
Yeah. And it's great that you were able to discover that.
it was it was
But
very, very
but you
quick.
you know what I'm gonna say. A lot
Oh,
of
absolutely.
people spend their whole career never ever coming to that realization.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like I've had these discussions with people that look at people like Elon Musk, whatever you feel about him, but there is something about this person. He does not allow any of the noises to penetrate him. He doesn't allow anything to move him away from what that ultimate vision he has. He's so confident in himself and his ability that the noises never ever get to him. And there's so many people like that we can talk about. And that to me, Phil, that's a superpower. To be able to do that is incredible. And I think that's going to allow any business owner to take their business to those new heights.
I think you could make that claim about Jeff Bezos. I think you could make
Yes.
that claim about,
Yes. So
uh,
that's why I said there's so many
yeah, I think you could make
that
that
could.
about Richard Branson.
Yes.
I wouldn't make that claim about Elon Musk, and we can disagree about that because, in my opinion, he was booted out of PayPal. He made a lot of money with PayPal, and then he just invested it in everybody else's businesses and said, "I'm going to put my money in, but you're going to make me a founder."
But
And
Phil, what I'm saying about him is the confidence that he has.
yeah,
He didn't allow. So when he was
he,
booted
he,
out of PayPal, someone in his shoes would have just crawled at home and cried their eyes out and been all sad or poor me. So what I'm actually describing with Elon Musk, people like him, is that he has enough confidence in himself that allows him to drive forward. Nothing stops him. Whether he does it in the right way or the wrong way, that's not the argument. The argument that what I really want to stress is the mindset, the belief in the self, that internal knowing that I can do this. You don't want me. This company doesn't want me. I'm going to go out and do 10 times better and 10 times more.
yeah.
That's the mindset that I want to describe here. Again, not for or against. It's just the mindset
I would
alone.
just use a different person for that
Okay.
example. Like Richard Branson, I think, is perfect for that. Even again, Jeff Bezos, I think he did a phenomenal job. And there was a period of time. You want to talk about a mindset? I mean, there was a period of time in the early 2000s when Amazon was really on the balls of its butt. And it was the deal that they made with Borders and the deals that they made with Toys R Us that really made them, catapulted them into what they are
Yeah.
today. But that was a long period of time. But he always had the belief that they were going to succeed all through every single obstacle. And
That's the
people were
mindset.
criticizing, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
People
it
were
all comes
criticizing
down,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It all comes down to mindset, and that's all I wanted
yeah,
to
I
stress
agree with you.
here.
I
And
agree
that
with you.
mindset really helps drive you forward. And then there are people like Steve Jobs as well. His mindset is
Oh, I
what
think
made,
another one. Yeah, that
yeah.
that
So
you
there,
could make the claim. Steve Jobs is a guy who he got kicked out of companies and just kept developing and developing. You
because of
know,
that self internal belief, and that's what I want to
absolutely.
stress out here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
I
so
think they're in a different league.
yeah.
That's all.
But the mindset is very, that's what I really want to bring out, and
I
that's what
agree
I
with you
really
on
want
mindset. I
to,
agree
that's
with
what
you
I
on
want,
mindset.
not the
No question.
human, not what they've
Yeah, not
achieved.
the
It's just
yeah.
purely about that mindset that drives you forward.
I have seen it.
So
I see the mindset every single day with
yes,
our clients that we work with and how different they are as to the ones who have this is where we're going and we need help getting there. And that is a mindset. This is where
yeah.
we're going and I can see where we have to get to. You tell me from your perspective what you need from us to get it to help get us there. Because that's really the client that we want to work
Oh,
with.
I love those clients. Those are, I call them teachable clients.
Yeah, because
Clients
those are the
that
ones.
want to do the work.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they
I
know
love
that they
them.
need help.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that they need help, and it's the clients that or the people. And again, even in coaching,
yeah,
the entrepreneurs that sort of think they have all the answers, and they're very closed about it, and they're afraid to take risks. And unfortunately, business sometimes means taking a risk.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to say, well, I'm going to go there. Too many times people are ultra conservative with what they want and they get stuck and then they sit there and complain that they're not growing and they're
yeah.
not growing because they don't want to do anything different. If you continue to do what you've always done,
Yeah.
you're going to continue to get what you've always gotten.
Absolutely.
So,
But again, that takes a realization and
yep.
the sense of self awareness to know that you're stuck and that you've hit the ceiling and you can't go any further and you need that extra help. But unfortunately, the people that need the most help, I find, are the ones that are the least self aware, don't realize that they need the help. They're completely driven by ego. And you have the ones that are already on the path, already doing really well, that are constantly asking for that help and want that guidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No doubt.
so going back to my last company, which was an AI company, I had one of my classmates from grad school that had been developing this AI algorithm for a really long time. And he just wasn't very business savvy and he didn't know what to do with it. So he came to me and he said, "Hey, listen, why don't we partner together? I've built this AI algorithm that predicts behavior with
Mm.
90% accuracy without collecting personal information and running all prediction in real time." I looked at him and I was like, "No, not interested." And
Oh,
he kept coming and coming. He's like, "Yeah, but let me explain this to you. I think I'm on to something." So, anyways, a lot of talks back and forth, back and forth. And I thought, you know what? I'm convinced. I think he's really on to something. So we started working on this business together. But now this was in the 2015, 2016. And you have to remember at that time and 2017, people were obsessed. Everything was all about blockchain and
yeah.
Web3.
Yeah.
So here we are with this incredible innovative technology that even today, there's nothing like it. And people are looking at us like, this makes no sense. Why would anybody want this? And here we're trying to convince people that this is the next big thing. All the investors that we approached, everyone in our network was telling us, advising us, you need to become a blockchain company.
Ah,
If you're not a blockchain company, you're not going to raise funding. You're not going to be able to take this business anywhere. Anyways, we did the best that we could with the resources that we had. We were able to move the company forward. And thank God we had some really good relationship with some really top universities that specialize in computer sciences, because they actually understood what we were doing. They ended up doing a lot of our R&D work, supporting us. We had access to amazing grad students, professors. So that's how we were able to create this incredible algorithm and continuously improve it. Long story short, December 2021, we decided we've taken this company as far as we can go. And unless we're a blockchain, this company isn't really going to go anywhere. So we decided this is it. We're good. We're done. And it was one of the hardest decisions that we made. And it really threw me for a loop because I thought this was it. This was the company that I was going to take to the New York Stock Exchange. This was going to be it. And to have that dream not come to fruition was really tough. But again, I'm all about everything happens for a reason, and timing and luck are really, really big here. But also at the end of the day, that mindset, that self belief of how much you believe that you can do what you set your mind to do today. So after 2021, I started doing a lot of consulting work for Web3 companies. I build their, business development and operations from scratch, because in the Web3 world, I don't know if you remember, Phil, it was a wild, wild west. I had no idea how these companies were making as much money as they were, and they didn't even have a business development team. Their operations were a mess. There was money galore. But you know what happened? All of it overnight crashed. And here I am doing consulting in this space. It also went away overnight. So I had
yeah,
to think, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I want to be known for? And I knew that growing and scaling a business is what I was really good at. I knew how to do that.
yeah,
Operations was my superpower.
yeah,
And so I was still very hurt about the whole AI debacle. And I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do anything in the AI market. But there were so many people that kept coming into my ecosystem, asking me for questions and advice about some of the things that they were doing and building in AI. And really, I'm a very spiritual person. And I had a moment in meditation where I realized if this is what's coming into my ecosystem, then this is probably something that I need to embrace again and move forward in the market. And I looked around and I saw there's so much noise in the AI world. It's all about tools after tools after tools. And the reality is, most of the tools that are out there are not innovative at all.
right.
There are companies that take a chatbot, put a nice packaging, and spend a lot of money on marketing, and they call it AI agent. And
Yeah.
they
I mean,
charge you an arm and a leg.
every day I probably get 20 or 30 emails or messages on LinkedIn about, we're an AI company and we build. And
It's
and
not.
I go, when I look at their backgrounds, they started a year ago. And I said, look, we've been
Yeah.
using AI chatbots for 6 years. Like,
Yeah.
welcome to the party, but I'm not interested. We've been refining them. And frankly, the innovation today is happening in search and
Yeah.
advertising. And I think that in 2026, in first quarter 2026, we're going to see a major change in ChatGPT search. And you heard it here first. ChatGPT search, because here's what I know. ChatGPT search has been out about a year and a half. It's got 2.2 billion daily searches. Google's been out for 20 years and
Yeah.
it's got 10.6 billion daily searches. So ChatGPT search is catching up very rapidly. Now, when you have an e-commerce site or you have any site, right, you have Google Analytics, you have Google Search Console, Merchant Center, you've got all these tools that you plug in so Google can read your site and Google can find your site and Google can figure it out. You got Tag Manager, et cetera, et cetera. And that all feeds Google AdWords or Meta's ads or wherever you're running ads, DSP, whatever.
Mm.
And ChatGPT search doesn't have that. But we noticed about 4 months ago, one of our clients we were looking at the where the sales were coming from, and all of a sudden, ChatGPT search was coming up, and I'm like, huh. And so we started diving into that.
Mm,
And what I realized was there's no way to set up like an API to feed it. I mean, there is, but it's not that great. But it's not like Google where you can just start feeding your product information on a daily basis.
yeah.
So you sort of have to build this portfolio, tell ChatGPT what it is. So that's what we've been focused on. And then you got to do some things on the back end with structured data and things like that. But so then I started looking at some of the changes that I see happening in ChatGPT search, and it dawned on me that I'm going to say that in the first quarter of 2026, we're going to see an ad component on ChatGPT search, and we're going to see a way to get a product feed onto ChatGPT search. And those two things are going to change the whole website world, the whole e-commerce world, the whole SaaS world, because it's completely different than Google search. And you have to be ready. You have to ready your site. And if you're not working on it today, you're going to be left
Yeah.
behind. But that's, in my opinion, the big change that's coming.
So I
And
will say not 2026, this year.
oh, you
Even,
think this
yeah,
year?
sooner than, because I already am thinking about companies that are working on this. And there's already so much happening behind the scene. I've been piloting a lot of outside of OpenAI. There is many other AI tools that are out there and search services that are coming out that are absolutely incredible what they are doing. So there's one that I'm using, it's called Comet, and it's through Perplexity. And what that is doing is when I turn it on, it actually takes over my whole system, my computer, and it knows based on my habits. Now, this is a true agent because it knows based on my habits,
Right.
my tone, well, what I search, my tone, the way that I speak when I'm asking for things on Google, how it needs to interact with websites
Yeah.
and how it needs to feed that information. It can write my LinkedIn post without me being involved and publish it on its own. It can post on any sort of social media channel that I want without my involvement whatsoever. It can answer all of my emails as though it is me because it knows my tone and how I talk. It pretty much, I don't even need to be here. It's the clone of me. It is scary in some sense, but also you think about as a team of one, how powerful that could be.
No, there's some great tools out there now that do similar things. Like I have we've been doing outreach on LinkedIn for new clients for years. And we had automation tools that worked, and they're nice, they're systemic, and you put the information
Yeah.
in and it goes out and you find your list, blah blah blah. But we just have this new one that a friend of mine developed and said, you really got to try this. He said, I developed it and it's fantastic. And it's unbelievable because like what you just said, it gets information about me, and then it's outreaching to people just as I would, and it's posting, it's commenting on their posts. And what happened was when I plugged it in, I didn't think anything of it. I set up the flow and I did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then a day later, I'm looking in my messages and I'm going, I don't remember posting something on this person's feed. I don't remember commenting on their. And I'm looking at and I'm reading the post. I'm going, that's something I would say. And then it dawned on me what was happening, because
Yeah.
I thought it would be in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I thought it would be in the
Yeah.
messages there, but it was in my messages in LinkedIn, and it was unbelievable. And it's really becoming a great tool because people are
Yes.
responding, and it's not like normal outreach, right? I
Yes.
think that I think that a lot of people have the lost the understanding of how to effectively do outreach when
Oh
they.
my, especially on LinkedIn,
Oh
Phil.
my God,
It's
they just come
awful.
right to it.
The one thing that I will say to be very mindful is if this is an add-on to LinkedIn, you really want to be careful because LinkedIn now has deployed advanced AI technology to detect anyone that is using any add on to enhance their LinkedIn outreach, and they just completely shut down your LinkedIn. No responses, no warnings, nothing. It's gone. So
Yeah.
be very mindful of that.
Well, they're looking for automation tools that aren't following the rules. So, you set
Any automation tool. So it has nothing to do with whether you're following the rules or not. If they detect automation or an add on, they will shut down your LinkedIn. So I would always say to people to be mindful of these tools because they're not advanced.
there are some that are allowable on LinkedIn because they've gotten approval from LinkedIn. This being one of them. There's a couple of them that are out there that you can use as long as you stay within the rules. Under
Mm.
sending under 25 or under 75 messages a day, not overlapping if you have multiple flows, and not sending the same message. And that's what I love about this is every message that it sends out is different. So it appears that I'm writing them. And
Mm.
so that's what I think LinkedIn is trying to stop is this just bombardment of um, guys that set up these flows that, they learn go high level and then they just set up a flow and just pound LinkedIn. That's the kind of stuff that people are complaining about because I get it every single day.
Yeah.
I see this and it just drives me up a wall. Immediately. They don't know me. Nobody's connected with me.
Yeah.
First thing is, I do this. You should buy it. I'm like, why? I don't know you. We don't know
Yeah,
you.
this is the problem. I mean, LinkedIn now also identifies if the post that you written was written by AI or if it was written by a human.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize when they copy and paste from Chat GPT, there are codes that you don't see that are pasted with your post, and LinkedIn picks up on that. And so what it does, it demotes your profile to the point where it hardly ever shows up in front of people. So I always advise people, don't mess around on LinkedIn. Be very mindful how you're using it. I really do hope and pray there will be a disruptor to LinkedIn. We really need it. But right now, LinkedIn is the only kid in town, and
Yeah.
and they make their own rules and they do whatever they want. So you really want to be
Yeah. It's
as
funny.
mindful as possible.
It's funny. They say they don't want you to use AI, but
But they use AI,
but they use AI. And
of
then there's
course.
the little thing on your post when you write your post says, do you want to use this to enhance it with AI?
Yes, but their AI is okay,
Yeah.
but
There.
not any other AI.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Exactly.
so seeing all of this in the market, this is why I'm so invested in combining my expertise in scaling businesses with AI expertise to really help businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, to truly become AI first. Not by chasing trends, but by really making sure they're aligning AI with their actual business goals. So we never talk with the clients I work with, we never ever discuss tools. It's always about where are you, where do you need to go, and how do we help you get there sustainably.
Right.
So today I work as an AI advisor and business coach. I merge the two because, like we said, businesses do need that coaching component.
Oh, absolutely.
And based on what I saw and what I continue to see happening in the market, and the need of the businesses, I created this AI clarity intensive program where it's a very short, high impact strategy session where I help businesses and their teams cut through the noise, identify the right AI opportunities for them, so customized for them, and walk away with a clear 90-day action plan that they can actually execute right away. So
Yeah.
no hype, no like fancy schmancy tools, all based on alignment with a clear path forward. So that encompasses the work that I'm currently doing with a lot of the businesses that I'm working with.
Yeah.
In addition to going in and having to clean house. So oftentimes I'm brought in because all those AI tools didn't work and they need someone to clean the mess. And
Yeah.
that's
It's
the
true.
frustrating part.
It's true, though. You said it before that people think they hear AI and they think that it's some sort of plug and play equipment,
It's
and
not a magic wand.
yeah,
It's
you
not.
walk in and you just can't we use AI? I mean, I
Yes,
hear that every day when we
yes.
talk about social media and we talk about making ads and we talk about things like that. Well, can't we use AI? We do use AI to a certain extent. We use AI for editing. We use AI for ideation, but the customer, especially in the business we're in, the side of it we're in,
Yeah.
which is predominantly e-commerce for consumer products, you know, those you have to connect with your customer. You have to make a connection. You
Yes.
can't just run an ad that just shows your product with a fire background that
Yes.
AI created and say, "Here, buy my product." That's not what social media is all about.
Yeah.
So, people just think everything is now AI, and they think they can do it for free. And
But you know what that's also doing, Phil? That's also really affecting trust.
oh,
And
sure,
it's really, people are, you can tell when you get the emails, when somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn, you can tell because it sounds very robotic. But I think what people are really missing now, I think we're having an issue with trust. People don't trust what you say, what you post, what you're standing behind, because they feel that it's all AI driven and it's not authentic. And that's where I think at the end of the day, the heart and soul really needs to come out. And that's why I'm a huge advocate of, regardless of where we go with AI and technology, the human is always going to be needed,
oh, I
because
agree
it's
with that.
all about the heart and it's all about the soul.
Yeah, I agree with that. We don't, like I said, I mean, we use AI. We've been using AI for 6, 7 years in our company for doing different things, but
Yeah.
you still have to have a human element. I think AI gets you 60, 70% of the way there, but it's not
Yes.
going to get you 100. You can't just ride it all the way to the finish line and just take what it gives you and post it. You have to clean it up. You have to make it sound like it's something that you wrote, but it's great for idea generation.
Yes.
It's great for, yeah,
Editing.
editing, it's great
Yeah.
for that. It's great
Yes.
for, for certain things, but we don't use AI generated images because it's in number one, it's inauthentic, but two, you
Yeah.
can tell and everything is funky looking and
Yeah.
it's just not and when it puts words on, half the time it misspells them. And I see it all the time on LinkedIn and I
Yeah.
say to people, hey man, this is an AI image. You really need to clean it up. Oh no, people are fine there. Like,
Yeah. And then the other part that really concerns me are all the companies that are feeding private client data into Chat GPT, not realizing that maybe we don't have strict laws in place yet, but you are going against privacy
yeah,
laws and regulations. And like you said before, if you don't know how to set your Chat GPT, a lot of those inputs that you're giving Chat GPT, because it trains on your data, will end up on public like Google and something else. And there are reports now I'm hearing every day of people that saying, somebody just pointed me out to my personal information on Google, because now when you search, it's not SEO anymore. It's, the AI models are scraping
yeah.
all the data that's being fed into them and then populating that out into the Googles of the world.
Well, I did it on purpose. I did it to myself on purpose. I built a portfolio which I fed into Google's AI and ChatGPT AI and all that, just to say this is what I want you to focus on.
Yes.
So this way they don't have to scrape. But yeah,
Yes.
it's AI is a great tool. The thing that we use it the most, that I find the most uh, uh, where I find the most value is in taking huge amounts of sales data. Like if we get a new client, they've been running ads for 10 years. And, for us to try and manually go through all that and figure out what's worked in the past, it's too difficult. So you could take all that data, put it in a logical format on spreadsheets or whatever, feed it in, and within half an hour, you'll have a great uh, overview of what happened and what you have to fix. That's
Absolutely.
where I love it.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's why with a lot of the clients that I work with, oftentimes it comes down to those simple things.
yeah,
And if I were to give your audience one piece of advice, it would be just to track what you're doing, you and your team are doing every single day manually, and ask yourself, is there a way we could actually
right.
automate this? Start with something really, really small, tangible, and then keep building on that. You don't have to go all in with all of these fancy smancy tools. And I got to tell you, I also do a lot of work with VCs that are looking to invest in AI companies. I'm analyzing and assessing pitch decks after pitch decks, and 99% of them, I say it's not worth investing because
Yeah.
it's not innovative
No.
AI.
No, it's just the same old, same old, same old.
It's just
You know,
pretty packaging, beautiful like coloring and branding, and they've spent a lot of money clearly on marketing,
yeah,
but
it's
there's nothing behind it.
no, it's absolutely it's like going back to the early 2000s when you know when people were raising money on ideas for the internet. Oh, we're going to sell
Yes.
this. We're going to sell this. I mean, you look at uh, some of the early e-commerce sites, which were just
Yeah,
there was
which
nothing
I
there.
worked on them. They were awful. They're so terrible.
Oh, believe me, we started the first meal site online back in 2000,
Yeah,
and
wow.
that was a struggle. And back in those days, we didn't have Shopify or
Yes.
WordPress or Magento or any of those plug and play systems. We had to build it. It had to be built.
Yeah.
And I think our first site cost about $100,000 to build, and you're
Yeah.
only dealing with one screen back then.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. And they're still very clunky and they still didn't work and things still crashed. It was those were the good old days, I like to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, it was wild. Well, we're pretty much out of time,
Yes.
so
This was fun. Thank
one.
you.
Thank you. Any last thoughts? Any last pieces of advice?
My advice is don't buy into the hype and the craze when it comes to chasing tools.
Yeah,
Be always go back to what is the mission and vision of this company? Where do we want to take this company in the next year or 2 years? What are we doing every single day that could there potentially can we utilize the power of AI to help us do it faster, better, save us time? Start with something really, really small. And I always say, if you can, and I know it's really hard, just shut out the noises because that's
yeah,
all it is.
yeah,
There are a lot of people that I kid you not, that I follow on LinkedIn that not so long ago were pushing Web3 blockchain stuff. And all of a sudden, magically, there are AI experts. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing that in like 6 months, you became an expert in AI.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you have
You're
to be very
100% right.
mindful, very, very mindful. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm going in and I'm cleaning house and I'm looking at the amount of money that these businesses have spent on these tools that are worthless, that they don't even need. It's something that an enterprise may consider, but why would a small business need such a tool?
Yeah,
That, and also one last thing that I want to leave your listeners with. The most important thing right now, as you are getting ready for this, I wouldn't even say getting ready because we are in the AI revolution, is to make sure that you know where your data is. And if that data is structured, meaning clean, organized data, because if you are feeding AI dirty data, messy data, you're going to get messy and dirty output as
yeah,
well. And if
absolutely.
any AI tool that you're thinking about employing, always make sure there's at least one person supervising the AI, because I promise you, it is not set it and forget it. And it is not answer to all your prayers. If anything, it's going to make things worse.
Yep. All right. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Crunching Your Growth. A huge thanks to Shadi Yazdan for showing
Thank
us
you.
that AI isn't about flashy tools. It's about strategic alignment, ROI, and leadership that puts people first. So if you're ready to bring clarity to your AI strategy, visit shadiyazdan.com or take her free AI readiness assessment. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with your network, and keep pushing your growth forward. I'm Phil Masiello, and I'll see you next time. And again, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone whose business could use a serious operations upgrade. Till next time, keep growing, keep iterating, and keep crunching your